Hey everybody, it's D from Bourbon Brews and Barbecue, and today we're going to do our first homebrew video. That's right, we're going to be doing this Dead Ringer 2-gallon IPA from Northern Brewer, and the first homebrew video that we've got here on Bourbon Brews and Barbecue. I am a home brewer, happily so. I love brewing my own beer, so going to give you this first one here, and this was a delicious American IPA. So it's a 2-gallon, so it doesn't take too long to do this one. It's only going to be 2 weeks to ferment, 2 weeks to then bottle condition with an original gravity of 1.063, and it is an American IPA style, as I mentioned. And this one was so easy to do as well. Here's all of our ingredients. We've got, obviously this is an extract kit. I haven't quite gotten into all grain brewing as of yet. But as I mentioned, it's a 2-gallon kit. So what you're going to want for one of these is a 2-gallon bale. You're not going to want to do a 2-gallon kit. For those of you out there that may be watching, just getting into home brewing, please do not do a 2-gallon kit in a 5-gallon fermenting bucket. It's just, there's going to be too much air sitting on top of it. And of course, make sure you got that grommet on it as well. So obviously, what do you want to do? You want to start with your water. You want to get that up to temperature. I like to keep my wort temperature, the steeping temperature, I guess you should say, at or just below 170. So what I personally like to do is get up to 170, turn off the heat, let it drop down a little bit. You don't want to go over 170. So I like to get to 170 and then let it drop to about 168 before you put your grains in your muslin bag, and don't drop it there like I did, but get that moving around in there. It's a smaller grain bag, so it's a little difficult to hold on to compared to the 5-gallon bag. So just let it sit there, and of course we're going to let it steep there for about 20 minutes or so. I put a timer on and I will do exactly 20. So at the end of your 20 minutes, look at that awesome color that's turned into now. What a drastic difference from that previous color. So you're obviously going to let it drain. Don't do anything with the bag other than let it drain. Obviously, don't squeeze the bag or anything like that. You don't want to leach tannins into your wort. So then you're going to turn the temperature back on, the flame back on, I should say. You want to set it at about medium to get that then back up to your boiling temperature. And obviously, we've got some Centennial hops. It is an IPA. Unlike a lot of kits that I've done in the past, I actually had to measure these out. They didn't give them to you in individual packets based on their breakdown, so I had to do some measuring there with the weights using a food scale. So we've got everything kind of getting back up to temperature here. This is when it starts to smell good, doesn't it? So then you've got your calm, gentle rolling boil. This is actually a little bit this was a little bit too serious. I actually had to let this get back down a little bit. That's not quite a rolling boil. I'm using a 12-quart pot here. I use a 16-quart pot for 5-gallon brews. But for the 2 gallons or 1 gallons, I'll do my 12-quart pot that I have. So what you're going to do first, you're going to add your Golden Light Breeze here, which is the malt extract. Obviously, it's not always necessarily the Golden Light. That's what it called for this kit. So you're going to add that in there, give it a stir. And at this point, this is when you want to make sure that your flame is off. You don't want it to caramelize on the bottom of the pot. So stir that around in there. I stir it until I'm sure of the fact that there is no more clumps in there. And then obviously there's going to be a couple different hops. There's 0.4 of an ounce at the beginning, 0.4 ounces, I should say, at 20 minutes, and then 0.8 ounces at the final cutoff for the boil. And then there was some dry hopping with this as well. So we've got that back to a bit of a better boil for what I prefer, so I'm going to drop this down to low. We're going to set our timer. We're going to set it for 1 hour. I prefer to use the timer that's just right there on my stove. Makes it nice and easy. And we're going to hit start. We're going to get her running there, and then we are going to make our first hop addition. So 0.4 ounces measured out here. This is a little bit better of a boil, and it's going to get lower as well. The most important thing to remember here, folks, for those of you just getting into home brewing, which I'm hoping if you're checking us out, that's what you're doing. If you've got any experienced home brewers out there, please let me know if I'm doing anything wrong. You want to be careful here. You don't want to obviously boil over, which adding hops will cause a boil over. So you don't want to just dump it all in there at once. So now we're starting to get down to our final moments here of the boil, kind of speeding this whole process up. I'm obviously not going to make you guys watch an hour's worth of this boil. So we're getting down towards the end. This was before I got my wort chiller, so this was back when I was doing the when I was cooling it down in the sink there. So I started filling up the sink with cold water about 5 minutes before the end of the boil, and then we're getting towards the final seconds here. This is when the beer starts to smell really good. Wort smells really good, especially when you're doing a hoppy IPA. It smells really good right here at the end. So we've reached our hour. We've done our hop additions. We're going to put a lid on. I can't stress enough, if you have a pot with a lid, please use the lid. Go buy a lid if you don't. So then we're going to get it in there, and it's obviously a 2-gallon kit, so you don't have to fill up the sink as much. You don't want the pot floating around in there. We're going to start prepping our sanitizer, so I always like to take out this little bowl here, put some sanitizer in. This is where I'm going to put the thermometer to read the temperature of the wort while we drop it down. And we're also going to fill up with some Star San here. We're going to fill up that fermenting bucket, slosh that around a little bit. Make sure you slosh that around. Obviously, Star San is a food grade safe. It's non-rinse, so you can pretty much leave a little bit of bubbles in there. We're going to put our fermentation lock in there as well, our bubbler, as a lot of people like to call it. So we've got the temperature down, we've got her in the fermenting bucket, and now it's time to pitch our yeast. We're using the Safale SO5, and there we go, good to go. Make sure we've got bubbles going, and in 2 weeks we will check on her. So there she is in my basement, starting to ferment. I had a 5-gallon kit going at the same time. So I will tell you what, folks, unfortunately I didn't get a video or photo of the final product of this beer, but it was delicious. This was a fantastic American-style crisp, clean IPA. It was hoppy, but obviously it's not hazy. It's not meant to be a hazy IPA. So a great kit from Northern Brewer that I really enjoyed. Definitely one I'm going to have to keep in my brew rotation. This was a great summer beer, nice, crisp, refreshing. And it came out great. No off hints, no interesting flavors. Everything seemed to go very well, and a lot of people that tried this beer very much enjoyed it, which is always something I like to hear. So that's going to do it for this one, and we'll hopefully bring you a lot more home brewing videos on here, as well as bourbon, as well as barbecue. So I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.